movement instead, but I still want us free. I had to honor the movement lived in me. Don't sweat it when you cannot save the day. Takes many lives and efforts for these lost to go away. No matter what we do, they got so much things to say. I leave it up to native folks on who can go and stay. The undoubted fools, I'm calling you in. I'm calling you. I'm calling you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to all of you. We're so glad that you're here today. People are still coming in, but it's so exciting to see where everybody's coming from, thinking about all over the state that people are dedicated to increasing the numbers of the California Dream Act. So welcome to the iHeart California Dream Act Town Hall. We have people that are coming in from all over, from Mojave, from Orange County, from Sierra College, thinking about all kinds of places in East Bay, Humboldt County, Barstow. So we're kind of from the top of the state to the bottom of the state. Very exciting. We're really glad that you're here. Cerro Coso College, Bakersfield Financial Aid. So thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our second iHeart California DreamHack Town Hall. Thank you for being here. In the next slide, my name is Nancy Jeditis, and I'm the founder of Institutional Solutions. I have the privilege of being able to work as a consultant with the California Student Aid Commission and want to welcome you here today. You'll see that beautiful artwork up on the right. This artwork for the iHeart California Dream Act campaign was created by Maritza Quiroz, an incredibly talented artist. And I just love the way in which it creates a visible sign for individuals to see that we are standing up for undocumented students and that we are wanting to make sure that they know that there are opportunities for them even in this current political climate. So welcome from Santa Rosa Junior College, Parowan High School, Modesto, Montebello, from Los Angeles, all over the state. So welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you for here. And we know that you're going to be really inspired by what you hear today. In the next slide, you'll see the agenda. We have an incredible, powerful, exciting agenda. We're starting at 9 and we promise to get you out at 10 o'clock. We want to make sure that some meeting logistics, that if you want to use the Zoom Q&A, we have staff ready and standing by to respond. We are 5 days away now from the priority deadline, and just shout out to the powerful CSAC staff who's always there to answer questions. We will be using today's recording to share out with you on the YouTube channel and also on the website, and we'll make sure that we send the slide deck to you and many of the links that are posted in the chat. For anybody that does want closed captioning, you can just toggle the captions on and off. It's on your Zoom bar saying CC. And please join us on social media. We are at the CA Student Aid. You can definitely check us out there. I'm seeing more people coming from Rowland Adult and Community Education, the Solano Office of Education, San Joaquin County of Education, Hayward, more and more and more, right? So we're over 250 strong right now. We know there's more who will be joining us. So on the next slide, let me let you know what we're going to be talking about today. I'm beginning with the opening and welcoming. We're going to be hearing a powerful call to action, and then we have some great speakers to ground the work. Hearing from some of our co-sponsors about the efforts so far to support the iHeart California Dream Act campaign, and then we're so lucky to have the legal counsel from CSAC here to reaffirm the legal framework so that we know that it is still the California law, the California Dream Act, as well as AB 540. And then I'm so excited to hear from some of our powerful practitioners who'll be talking about promising practices to maximize impact. So please join me in welcoming Catalina Mitzler. She is CSAC's Chief Deputy Director, and she, along with the CSAC team, have just been incredibly committed to making sure that we increase the visibility of the California Dream Act and increase the number of students who apply. So thank you so much, Catalina, and I'm looking forward to your.
Thank you, Nancy. I want to give a shout out to Nancy too from Institutional Solutions for her vision in this work. And she's been doing this work for a long, long time. Nancy and I go way back to the days where she was helping, continuing with undocumented students, working with us. And so she's been a long time partner with us. Her dedication to the students and families, especially the most vulnerable, has just kept her focused on promising practices to reach and inform more students and give them hope and reduce the fears that they have to take those next steps to apply for college and get their costs covered. So thank you, Nancy. So I'm joining you today as the Chief Deputy Director of the Student Aid Commission. I'm humbled to be here with all of you, with all 279 and the numbers growing, and appreciate you, each and every one of you, and the work that you do. You have joined us today not only to learn about the work that CSAC is doing, but with our partners, but to support students and families and to utilize the tools that we have and our resources, and for you to take action. So today, this town hall is about the statewide I Heart California Dream Act campaign. It's a campaign that's about courage and unity and to defend the humanity in all of us. We're all here in unity to support and defend our most vulnerable students. These are all the students that we serve together. The students that are facing every day, wondering what's going to happen to them or their family, and what they've known as home is now in question. We all hear the stories, and we have to be the voice of encouragement and to support them in every way that we can because they deserve it. They've earned it. We have partners in all corners of the state who are standing with us in unity for our immigrant families, undocumented, and refugees in California through the I Heart Dream Act campaign. Our partners at CASFA, Institutional Solutions, Immigrants Rising, Undocu Scholars, Student Senate for California Community College, East Los Angeles College, Rosemont High School, and EdTrust West, and many, many other partners that are here to support each and every student who needs us. The I Heart California Dream Act campaign is a representation of unity and our way to correct misinformation, to address intimidation, and give and encourage California students and families to keep their dreams alive in pursuing their higher education. This campaign sends the message to all undocumented students that you have the right to an education. California remains committed to you, and the law opens the door for you to continue your education with the financial resources to cover the costs. The goals of the I Heart California Dream Act campaign is to create a visible symbol of support to counter fear, lack of information, and confusion. The goal is also to increase the number of students applying for the California Dream Act. We've seen some drop in the numbers over the years, the California Dream Act application, and we're steadily starting to increase these numbers, but we're not there yet. That's why this week is so important, critical for us to reach those students who have not yet applied and help them. Help them to start the application, help them to get their families to provide information, and just get to the submission point and completion so that, again, encourage them that this information will be kept safe and the information is used solely for financial aid determination. We had an opportunity to launch the I Heart California Dream Act campaign at CASFA in 2020 at the 2025 conference, where there were hundreds of campus financial aid administrators that learned about our campaign. And the three main asks to support these students is always say CADA or FAFSA, make your support visible, and have courageous conversations. Next slide. When helping students and families apply for financial aid, always say CADA or FAFSA. Students need to know that there are two financial aid applications, and one is the right one for them. Students from mixed status families need to know that they have a choice in completing a FAFSA or a CADA. And if they choose CADA later and decide to complete a FAFSA, they have that choice. Next slide. Make your support visible. Put posters in visible spaces so students know you have their back and they are in a safe place. Take photos and I Heart California Dream Act on Instagram and other social media spaces to be a trusted face. Talk about the Dream Act with your peers in meetings in the hallways so those around you who interact with students know that they can share that information. Tell a friend. Remind students that their information is only, again, used for determining financial aid eligibility and that we will do everything in our power to protect their information. This is about earning trust. Next slide. And have those courageous conversations. Build your courage, raise your voice, talk to students, and center and elevate California laws that you'll learn about today. Have those courageous conversations with other administrators and let them know undocumented students have a legal right to receive state financial aid and enroll in college just like their peers. Next slide. CSAC mailed out iHeart California Dream Act posters, postcards, and stickers to campuses to post in their offices and spaces where students can see they are safe. Follow us and tag us at CA Student Aid. If you have a t-shirt as a symbol of support, use your digital communications to spread the word and choose from 5 ways to show your support. Now, I want to introduce our chair of the California Student Aid Commission, Catalina Cifuentes, who is known throughout the state for her leadership, and I'd say the nation, for her leadership and courageous work over the years that has changed the lives of thousands of students. She not only leads the work, she pulls up her sleeve to do this work every day. And where she is today, she's doing just that. So with that, Chair Cifuentes.
Hey, all right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much, Catalina Missler, for the super sweet introduction. I'm just excited to be here this morning. If you hear a little bit of an echo, I am at the Riverside Convention Center hosting 1,000 of our students who've been directly admitted to a CSU, many of them dreamers. And to show you, we're going into the wheels fall off and pushing them to continue their goals and their plans for post-secondary education, regardless if it's 2-year or 4-year. We're here today to encourage them that they have potential, they've made it. So yes, I'm here doing the work as well, and I'm just honored to be here this morning. It was important for me to be here, even if I'm in a corner somewhere talking to you all. It was important because California Dreamers, our families need us now more than ever. They are dealing with so much personally, family-wise, and they've worked so hard, many of them coming to them when they were so young from another country. They don't know anything other than the United States. This is their home, and they're being forced to make decisions that never thought they would come their way. They don't know anything different. This conversation is personal to my heart because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my parents. Both I am a daughter of immigrant parents. My mom came from El Salvador, my dad came from Mexico. And both of them were undocumented until I was already in high school. And I never knew, and they kept that from me. They never told us what was going on. And I would ask them, did you vote? Did you guys go vote? And they would say, yes, we voted. And I had no idea. They hadn't voted yet. They did not become US citizens until I was already in high school. And I never knew that. And I imagine all of our students that have dealt with that and understand what that's like to know, to have that fear. I was fortunate enough to be born here in the United States, but to know that at any time, had I realized my parents could have been, something could have happened. So it's so important, this conversation for me, because I can assure you my parents have paid back the money or any resources or anything we've ever, financial aid. I'm a product of Cal Grant. I've paid back the Cal Grant 10 times. So it's so important that we change that narrative of the assets that, we bring to the state. And we're so honored that our state continues to support our dreamers and continues to allow them to make the options. Today, you're going to get a lot of information. You're going to get a lot of resources. And one of the questions I already saw is, I don't know what to do. And I have a student that may be in asylum. He's an asylum student. Should they submit? Should they not? You need to know today that those are family decisions to make, right? It's no one person to say, it's okay, you can. But it's our job as educators, as public servants, as advocates, to inform the families of all the different pros and cons of doing that decision, making that big decision. But what we don't want to happen is that they make an uninformed decision. We have to let families educate, exercise the custody and control of their children, of their students, and let them decide. But what's happening is they're making uninformed decisions. And you being here today is your commitment to ensure they're making informed decisions about their future. And so many of these questions I navigate myself every day in my job with my families. And I do my best to treat them with kindness, with fairness, with an understanding, and really making sure they weigh out pros and cons of this decision. So for example, a recent family I was supporting, they've been here in the United States since the student was obviously born here, and they were similar to my family. The parents are undocumented, and they're nervous to do the application, the FAFSA. So the conversation was doing the California Dream Act instead, and doing their best there. But one thing to keep in mind is those parents have been filing taxes. My parents, even when they were undocumented, filed taxes every year. and they didn't get any of the money back. They didn't get any of the return back or get a tax refund. The state and the federal government keeps those costs. And a lot of people don't know that, right? I learned so much in financially when I became a school counselor. But it's important that we understand that, they're in the system, right? And so it's our job to educate the families, different scenarios. There's no one cookie cutter way of advising our families, but they have you and your commitment to them and advising them based on their different case studies and scenarios. These last 2 years, I've never had to get more personal with families and ask them a little bit more questions and apologize for that. I say, I know I'm asking a little bit more about your living situation, but I just need to really understand and help you navigate it. So we are excited you're here today. It brings me tears to know there's over, pushing 400 of you that are allies with their students, believe in our students, and want to continue to support them in all of their endeavors. And I want you to know, like I mentioned earlier, these students and their families, they've given back, they've worked hard. These students many of them don't know anything other than California. So thank you for loving them. Thank you for supporting them. And thank you for being here and knowing today you may not leave here with all the answers, and you're gonna navigate some crazy scenarios. I've been there. I'm there all the time. But knowing that you're with them to navigate each and every single scenario is all they need to hear. So thank you for joining us, and we're here to help you. The CSAC team is phenomenal. The commitment they have to our Dreamers shows you in this campaign. So I'll go ahead and turn it back to our CSAC team, and thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you so much, Chair Cifuentes. You are incredibly inspirational in your words in terms of being right there, stepping away from hundreds of students who are signing up for the CSU, the work that you do, the dedication that you bring. We're incredibly lucky to have you not only here today, but in your leadership within the California Student Aid Commission and also as the College and Career Readiness at Riverside County Office of Education. I'm in the next slide. I'm going to just be thinking about grounding the work, and I'm incredibly thrilled to be able to have two people today who are really important in those spaces. Gerson Cortez, co-founder, in the next slide you'll see, of the UndocuScholars LLC, is an incredible advocate for equity, for organizing access to education, and for joy. He's played an instrumental role in the passage of the Federal DREAM Act, as well as advocating for the California DREAM Act, and I'm sure anybody who knows UndocuScholars LLC is going to give a big shout out today for Gerson. And we're also really thrilled to be able to hear from Alicia Nagpal, who is the Vice President of Legislative Affairs for the Student Senate of the California Community Colleges. She was instrumental in the passage of SB 98, the SAFE Act, and you're going to hear a little bit more from both of them. So thank you to both of you. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy, and thank you everybody who's here. I would love to speak a little bit about the history of the California DREAM Act. The California DREAM Act is a very special resource for a lot of us, and it has a lot of history. So much history, in fact, that I have to start quite a bit back, almost 16 years ago. In 2010, we saw a huge push to pass something known as the Federal DREAM Act, when thousands of young, undocumented community members across the country strained themselves for a shot at citizenship. Now, not many people remember this, but beyond citizenship, these young people pushed for the Federal DREAM Act because it would also open an opportunity to qualify for financial aid. It should be no surprise that FAFSA was a goal for Dreamers too. After all, for good and for bad, a college education was one of their defining characteristics. In 2010, Dreamers risked arrest and deportation through highly visible actions to make their demands unignorable. They risked their health through hunger strikes. They risked their safety by publicly disclosing their status and putting themselves within proximity to state violence. That year, the Federal DREAM Act ultimately failed. After pouring so much energy into it, it was a demoralizing blow to the movement. I remember in the weeks after the death of the DREAM Act, our local Dream Team membership dwindled. People were tired, heartbroken. The meetings were low attended and low energy, and kind of pointless at that point. What was there to talk about except how much it hurt? And what was there to do except just get together? Something had to change or our group would not survive it. Now, without going into too much detail, a meeting was called in my local dream team and in similar groups across California. A meeting where hopelessness was discussed out loud. We need something to do, was the message. Something to fight for, something we can win. And state financial aid was proposed as the next focus for all of the energy and experience and power that these dream groups had accumulated. And it felt good. It felt good to see friends writing and sending press releases again. It felt good meeting again and hearing reports from full-time students with full-time jobs who secured a venue on their spare time and voted on who would be the masters of ceremony and got confirmation from student clubs in different colleges that their members would show up and speak and volunteer. It felt good to argue with each other again on messaging and language and symbols. It felt good to want something and work toward it. On March 10th of 2011, the Orange County Dream Team and the OC Dream Act Coalition launched our regional California Dream Act kickoff event. Dream teams and college clubs across California did their own versions their own way, and months of phone banks and letters and Facebook groups and news interviews followed until Governor Jerry Brown signed AB 130 in July, and after even harder pushback, AB 131 in October of 2011. In my work right now, today, as an undocumented professional Californian, I have encountered some districts who are trying to make the case that promoting the California Dream Act is a political statement. They feel uncomfortable around this issue. They don't put posters up. They don't talk about it, and they discourage teachers and counselors from being too vocal about its very existence. I'm here to solidify and help confidence in this. The California Dream Act is a California fact, and we need our high schools and colleges to confidently display its existence. The California Dream Act is a California law made for any Californian who qualifies for it. Choosing to hide this law is the political statement. Choosing to withhold this law and its benefits from eligible Californians is the radical stance. CADA is life-changing and community-changing. It helped me and thousands of Californians like me learn helpful skills in college, which we now use to help our communities better. My name is Gerson. I am an undocumented Californian, and I heart the California Dream Act. I want to thank Nancy Juditis of Institutional Solutions. I want to thank CSAC as well, and thank every single educator who is joining us today for helping our families become aware of this very special resource earlier and earlier in their academic journey. Thank you so much, everybody.
Hey everyone. I have the profound privilege of representing all 2.2 million students in the California Community College system through legislative advocacy and policy. And among those 2.2 million students in the largest system for public higher education in the entire nation are some of the most brilliant, resilient, and dedicated scholars in our system, including students who identify as undocumented. Right now, with everything unfolding in the federal landscape, advocacy is not optional, it is essential. Undocumented students are navigating higher education while also navigating uncertainty about policy, about protections, and whether or not their families feel safe. And yet they continue to show up in our classrooms, lead in our student governments, and contribute meaningfully to our campuses and our communities. This is why we must continue to show up for them. The Student Senate was a proud co-sponsor of SB 98, which ensured transparency and protections around immigration enforcement activity on our campuses. We have continued sustained budget advocacy alongside the CCC Chancellor's Office to secure and strengthen funding for our Dream Resource Centers because student support services are not symbolic, but they are survival tools for many students. However, it is clear that SB 98 is not enough, and we must push and protect the California Dream Act. Advocating for undocumented students is not just about protecting a marginalized group, but it's about equity, it's about dignity, and it's about affirming that California community colleges opportunity does not depend on immigration status. When we say we represent 2.2 million students, we mean every single one of them. And we will continue to legislate and advocate and organize with that commitment on that forefront. And we urge our partners, and we really just want to make sure that it's very visible that we will protect, we will advocate for AB 540, we will advocate for Dream Resource Centers, we will advocate for undocumented students as a whole.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Gerson. That was an incredibly powerful grounding. I just want to send so much appreciation and love, Gerson, for the way that you shared the work that was going on, the work that you've done, and the work that you're doing on the ground today. And also, Vice President of Legislative Affairs Nagpal, your work at that leadership level, system-wide view, making sure that equity is throughout the different campuses is really something powerful. And I think that's the work that we all have. Where are we? Where's our positionality? And how can we advocate and continue to build strength for equity, for undocumented students, and for our communities, right? Because our communities are made up of many individuals, including immigrants, which are such of the power and the strength of the nation and the state that we have here in California. So just big hearts to you both. And a shout out to Alda, who couldn't be here today, but has also done some incredibly powerful organizing alongside Gerson and many others. So in the next slide, you'll see that we're going to be hearing from some of the efforts already underway to support the I Heart California Dream Act. As Catalina said, I am from Institutional Solutions, and I was able to work with the artist Maritza Quiroz to be able to build these incredible views, these incredible posters, postcards, stickers, and we've all seen how immigrant communities are under attack in Los Angeles and Minnesota, as well as countless communities across the nation. And like you, I take steps every day to collectively address this lawlessness and brutality, but I also believe it's important to engage in our sphere of influence, to highlight the collective support available within our schools, our organizations, and to effectively implement California laws with fidelity to protect immigrant communities and uphold those rights. Students trust us, we have influence within our campus, and together we can make sure that students know that they are not alone, that we stand with them, and that support and financial aid is available and legal, even in this current political climate. And so that's why I'm thrilled to be able to introduce our next speaker, who is from Immigrants Rising, an organization near and dear to my heart. I served as the Director of Higher Education there and led a lot of their work around the California Dream Act. But in the next slide, you'll see that we're going to be able to hear from Daniela Rodriguez. And I'm really excited, Daniela, that you are here today as the Policy Advocacy and Senior Manager, and someone who also has a long history within the California Student Aid Commission and advocating for equity for all. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you, Nancy. And good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here with you all today, to be, follow the great speakers that you've already heard from, and then also all the great speakers you're going to hear from come after me. But thank you for that warm introduction, Nancy. I won't repeat my name and my title, but for those of you who may not be familiar with Immigrants Rising, we're an organization focused on creating opportunities and resources for undocumented people to achieve their education and career goals through personal, institutional, and policy transformation. As was shared earlier, since its creation more than a decade ago, the DREAM Act has quite literally changed the lives of thousands of immigrant students by empowering them through financial aid to enter, and not just to enter, but also to persist in higher education. And the data backed it up, right? As demonstrated in CSAC's Renewing the Dream report from just a few years ago, it showed that at its peak, right before the pandemic, more than 50,000 DREAM Act applications were submitted. So being here today with you all is so important because the progress and momentum that we have built together alongside students, advocates, partners, community members is on the line. Immigrant students and their families have been targets of an administration that wants to go back to a time of fear, of exclusion, and silence. But we at Immigrants Rising, along with everyone that you see on, I'll say, I think with everybody, I'll speak for everybody here, that we believe the contrary. We believe that education is a right, and that instead of blocking access to college, we should be investing in inclusive pathways that allow every student, regardless of their status, to learn, to work, and to contribute to our shared prosperity. And the DREAM Act is undoubtedly one of those critical pathways. And that is why the I Heart California DREAM Act campaign is so essential in this current political climate, because it not only affirms, but it also explicitly communicates to students that they belong, that their educational goals can be realized, and that the financial aid that they need to achieve those goals is still available and it's protected. So you showed up on this, this Tuesday morning, and we thank you for that. And maybe you're here because you have a great infrastructure on your campus, in your institution, wherever you're coming from, and you want to learn more. Or maybe you don't know where to start. So I want to start just by thanking you for being here, despite everything that is going on and everything that you're holding in this time. But secondly, I invite you to join this campaign and actively promote and make visible the DREAM Act, the California DREAM Act, in ways that is clear and repetitive. The more the DREAM Act is visible, the more students will feel safe, encouraged, and informed, and ready to take that next step of actually applying. At Immigrants Rising, we have so many resources, dozens, literally, not just resources, but tools. It's important to mention that because, applying is an important step, but it's also a very early step. And, I share this from personal experience, from my own experience, but also the students that I get to talk to. The question of sometimes is, well, I apply, but then what happens after? Am I going to get into all this debt? What happens after I submit? And that is a very real question that students are grappling with, especially in light of what seems to be a day-to-day, hourly changes all the time under this current environment. And so at Immigrants Rising, and I'll be happy to share the link that I'm talking about, but there's a centralized page where all of our resources exist. And I encourage you to visit those and use them not just now, but throughout the financial aid cycle, so that students understand that not only do they have guidance to apply and support to apply, but also that they're going to be supported for the duration of on navigating the process. So I'm happy to share that with you all today. And then last but not least, I also invite you to, think about and joining and participating at Immigrants Rising promising practice roundtables. Those are spaces as well for practitioners, individuals who work with students directly on how to support students in equitable ways and how to uplift the resources and information that, may not be well understood or may not be well communicated. So that is another space where you all are invited to join us in. So those are some of the things I wanted to uplift in terms of, what are the efforts underway that are very complementary and necessary in creating this ecosystem where students feel safe and encouraged to apply for the aid that, as was mentioned earlier, is legally available in California. No matter what others want to depict, that is just a fact. And you'll hear later about the legal theory and the legal affirmation of them. But with that, thank you so much, CSAC, Institutional Solutions, and everyone here for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Daniela, and thank you for elevating the powerful work of Immigrants Rising, who has done so much to be able to increase opportunities for educational and career opportunities. I do also want to give a shout out to CASFA, specifically to the California Association of Financial Aid Counselors, CASFA, who partnered with Institutional Solutions, CSAC, and Immigrants Rising to allow us to launch the I Heart California Dream Act campaign at their December annual conference. We were able to greet individuals with T-shirts and posters and postcards. We hope to do the same at the CISFA conference as well. But at that CASFA conference, under the leadership of Lorena Rodriguez, the president, also were able to, the whole entire executive team of the CASFA leadership stood up in front of the gathering and visibly showed their support for undocumented students and for the California Dream Act. So I just want to, we know, as a former financial aid counselor myself, I know there are some of you today, we want to just give a shout out and know the incredibly important role that financial aid counselors provide. And I think that sends us up well to the next slide, which is when we're so greatly appreciative of the fact that Ana Manuel, the CSAC legal counsel, is going to guide us through the legality of the California Dream Act, AB 540, and more. So take it away, Ana.
Thank you, Nancy. Hello, everyone. I am the Assistant General Counsel here at CSAC for 2 years now, and prior to this role, I was a staff attorney and the Director of Strategic Initiatives at the University of California Immigrant Legal Services Center. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to dive right in here by asserting what is still considered good law. What rights and actions should we as undocumented immigrant and mixed status student allies what should we continue to exercise? All right, so this slide lists the topics I'll be covering today. First, the legality of the DREAM Act and AB 540, then protecting student bodies and their data, and then the right to share knowledge about what the law says. Next slide, please. I also like to frame this conversation as exercising our legal rights and duties, right? My first human rights mentor would say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. So if we don't know our rights, if we don't assert our rights, if we don't assert the rights of our communities, then it's much more likely that those rights will be violated. So we do our best by informing ourselves and informing others. Next slide, please. So as most of you probably know by now, the federal government filed a lawsuit against California in November. And the purpose of the lawsuit is to attempt to block in-state tuition benefits for undocumented AB 540 students and to block those students' access to state-funded financial aid and DREAM loans. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to summarize this legalese, but these are the laws that are being cited in the lawsuit. So federal immigration law states that if a person who is not lawfully present in the U.S. receives any state-level post-secondary education benefit on the basis of state residence, then out-of-state U.S. citizens must also be entitled to those benefits. So the federal government is alleging that California is in violation of this provision of the federal immigration statute. The feds are arguing that all our AB 540 requirements that California has are merely a proxy for residents. So anyone who works with AB 540 knows that students have to prove a lot more than just living in California to be AB 540 eligible. And plus, there are some categories of non-residents who actually attend California schools and become AB 540 eligible, like kids who come to California for boarding school. So the California Supreme Court reviewed the same legal issue back in 2010 in a case called Martinez v. Regents, and that court upheld the legality of AB 540. They found that AB 540, quote, is not based on residence in California. Rather, it is based on other criteria, which anyone who works with AB 540 knows to be true. The DOJ's lawsuit disagrees. So the lawsuit also alleges that AB 540 violates the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, which essentially says that when state and federal law conflict, then federal law controls. Next slide, please. So, quick note that California is not alone. Other states' tuition equity laws are being challenged across the country. Next slide, please. So, on December 30th, California filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, and a court hearing was previously scheduled for February 5th, but the court vacated the hearing to review California's motion as well as the federal government's reply without any oral arguments. And so the judge may decide later that oral arguments are necessary, but in any case, it's likely to take the court several months to issue a ruling. And, I've made this comparison over and over that we know from following docket in the courts, right, that a lot of things can happen. So it's hard to say what we can expect. So if the case is dismissed by the judge, then the DOJ could try again, right? If the case goes forward, it's likely that either party would appeal the district court's decision, and the case would go straight up to the Supreme Court, or it would go up and down through the lower courts, the way that DACA has, right, for many years now. And so this is unpredictable and it's very uncomfortable. And so in the meantime, we just have to continue advocating for students according to, what the law currently says. Next slide. So until there is a court ruling saying otherwise, AB 540 and the California DREAM Act are still the law in California. So we all need to resist any kind of fear and preemptive compliance to legal rulings that have not happened. Okay, just because there is a lawsuit, it doesn't mean that there will be a ruling in the Fed's favor. Next slide, please. So moving on, we all know that CADA numbers will continue to decline if students are afraid to go to college or if they're afraid to apply for financial aid, basically afraid to hand over information about themselves or their families. I saw a Q&A about this. Parents afraid to give their data even to, for the CADA. So this campaign poster reminds students that CADA data is not shared with the federal government. Next slide, please. First and foremost, FERPA is the federal law that generally, with narrow exception, strictly prohibits releasing student personally identifiable information without a judicial warrant or subpoena. California has passed several laws to protect students and their data, and this is not an exhaustive list. So following these laws, some of these laws, the California Attorney General has published model policies, which center on limiting assistance with immigration enforcement to the fullest extent possible, consistent with federal and state law. So these model policies, everyone needs to know about these model policies by now. They have them for both higher ed as well as K through 12, pre-K through 12. Also note some very recently enacted laws expand protections. So SB 98 extends duties to extends duties to notify everyone on campus about the presence of immigration enforcement. And SB 580 will extend model policies to state and local agencies as well. Next slide. Okay, so the following slides here address topics that are included in the model policies that I just spoke about. So the Fourth Amendment of the US Constitution is meant to protect individuals from unreasonable search and seizure. So you're going to want to know that a valid judicial warrant or subpoena is required in order to release any student information to law enforcement. And even with a court order, an immigration officer must be referred to a campus designee to determine proper steps forward. So please know who your campus designee is. Next slide, please. So we all have an expectation of privacy under the Fourth Amendment. So ICE can enter public spaces freely, but they cannot enter private spaces without a warrant. So some ways to enforce private spaces are by using signage, locking doors, and of course, educating others. Next slide, please. All right, so in the first half of my presentation, I went over the legality of the California DREAM Act and AB 540. To recap the second half, we learned that there are state and federal laws that protect student information and even require protection. I'll mention the most relevant parameter here in the third bullet point to protecting students is to stay within the law, which means refraining from illegally interfering with or physically obstructing law enforcement. And finally, I'll end with this image of the Know Your Rights red card because informing students and colleagues about their constitutional and other legal rights, like the existence of CADA, is legal. So you are not breaking any laws by merely teaching individuals that they may also assert their rights. And with that, I'll pass the mic back. Thank you so much.
A big round of applause for Anna. Thank you so much, Anna, for grounding us, for making sure that we know that this information, not only is it based in law, but it's really, as Gerson was also saying, that it is a counter to any information that we should be kind of tamping this down. The California Dream Act is legal, AB 540 is legal, and there's lots of information that already is there. So thank you, Anna, for your incredible work. And now I'm really excited that we're going to move to the last part of our presentation of the incredible practitioners who are elevating promising practices and maximizing impact. And the next slide, you're going to see the three incredible people that we have, which are the Alouette Cervantes Salazar, the coordinator from East Los Angeles Community College, Melissa Sandberg, who's a counselor at Rosemount High School, and Mayra Lara, who is the Ed Trust West LA Regional Coordinator, a community-based organization that does a lot to advocate. So we're going to start with you, Alouette, and thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So excited to be here. In less than 4 years, we've been able to serve over 1,100 students from 33 countries, each with very unique immigration situations, experiences, and traumas that definitely affect them seeking and receiving assistance and support. But our ELAC DRC motto here is, as long as there's breath, there's hope. So we do our best to help them feel comfortable as we look at their options and focus on what we actually can control. So helping students understand, fill out, submit, and follow up on their California Dream Act is one of the several services that we offer at the DRC, Dream Resource Center. But all our student ambassadors are trained to explain the purpose of CADA, the process, as well as are available for questions that come along the way. We keep things real with students. So with that in mind, here are some practices that help our students successfully submit their CADA as well as and receive their Cal Grant. So I really like acrostics. So it's REAL is the acrostic, REAL. R, residency check. We make sure that they are eligible to apply for the California Dream Act, and that the name, address, and all other vital information is matches with admissions and records, CSAC, as well as with CCC Apply and financial aid. So we just make sure that the residency and the information is going to match so that there's not going to be any glitches, or hopefully not. E, encourage to follow up and check status. Before they leave, we show them how to check their web grants for students, as well as how to connect with CSAC and how to speak with financial aid, the questions to ask and for answers that they may have. For questions that they may have. And then that's E. A is advocate. We advocate for our students to clarify things, and as we continue moving forward, because a lot of times we're seeing that the students just don't understand what their rights are, and so we want to make sure that we're here to advocate for them, but also to show them how to self-advocate. And then L, learning process. We meet students where they are, and if it's not working, if we need to change something, then we change it. So again, we keep it real. R, residency check. E, encourage them to follow up. A, advocate for the students. And L, it's a learning process. So overall, we do what we can when it can be done, and we guide them to become, again, self-advocates and to know what they can and cannot do for themselves. So overall, real talk, real results, and we just love them. So thank you for all your efforts, and thanks for allowing us to be here. And I guess, do I pass it on to Melissa?
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So I'm going to go over a couple promising practices that I use with high school students and their families. So a promising practice I use from EdTrust West is implementing inclusive financial aid strategies that intentionally include undocumented students. So this means elevating the California Dream Act application alongside the FAFSA and pairing it with trust building and culturally responsive outreach, so students and their families understand their options and feel safe engaging in the process. So, in today's political climate, trust is absolutely everything. So, families need to know that when we talk about financial aid, we're also talking about safety, confidentiality, and belonging. In Sacramento City Unified School District, we've made it clear with our community that we're a safe haven district. So that message matters, but it must also be visible and actionable. So that's why the I Love California Dream Act posters and stickers and other identify kind of posters or options matter. These materials aren't just decorating, they're for signaling. So they tell students that you belong here, I see you, I support your educational journey. And when students see these messages in counseling offices and classrooms and college centers, it helps normalize the California Dream Act as a legitimate and supported pathway to higher education. So we also pair visibility with action. So at Rosemont High School and across Sac City Unified School high schools in our district, we partner with the Sacramento CalSOAP Consortium to host Cash for College nights. So at these events, we provide hands-on support for families to complete either the FAFSA or the CADA. We provide translation services to ensure all families can engage fully and confidently. And we also have Cal Kids available. So representatives are there to highlight that this funding is accessible to all students. So it helps families understand additional resources that can support their children's education. So ultimately, the goal is not just to have the application complete, but it's to build a culture where even seniors, regardless of their immigration status, understand that financial aid is accessible, confidential, and within reach. So when we combine clear messaging, visible allyship, community partners, and language access, we move simply forming students to truly empowering students. And then I will go ahead and hand it off to the next presenter.
Hi, thank you so much. It really is an honor and a privilege to be in conversation with everyone today. I come to this work as an immigrant and formerly undocumented person. And while I now carry the privilege of citizenship, I have not forgotten the fear and confusion of navigating a pre-K world. So thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I'm Mayra Lara with EdTrust West. We're a research and policy advocacy organization. And we believe undocumented students deserve safe, informed, and culturally sustaining school environments, especially as they're navigating the financial aid process. When threats escalated in early 2025, we released an equity alert called Standing Together to help school districts, school sites, and campus leaders protect undocumented and immigrant students, and it outlines 5 key actions. I'll go over these briefly now, and then I'll also afterwards share some of the links in the chat. So first, sharing accurate information. I think some of this has already been shared. Leaders should consistently distribute the California Attorney General's guidance. So schools and colleges have clear, up-to-date information to protect student privacy. Second, communicate safe haven policies. California has several, for example, AB 699 and AB 21, that restrict cooperation with federal immigration authorities, and local leaders need to clearly communicate and implement these protections. Again, I think some of this has already been shared. Third, build trusted partnerships. Schools can partner with law schools and immigrant rights organizations like some of the ones we've heard from today to support policy development and provide legal guidance when questions arise. Fourth, prioritize physical and emotional safety, so important, which means staying in regular communication with undocumented students and their families and responding quickly to concerns. And I think finally, keep college pathways open. California has strong laws affirming undocumented students' right to pursue college. Local leaders should reassure families and encourage financial aid applications, including through CADA. We've also released a brief on multilingual learners, many of whom come from immigrant families, and what helps them thrive. This includes making sure educators receive training on challenges undocumented student families face, using CSAC's free FAFSA and CADA trainings, expanding equitable dual enrollment, and implementing California's All-In for Financial Aid policy, including offering translation, family navigation support, and clear opt-out processes so that every student understands both the implications and the benefits of completing the financial aid application. I think the big takeaway here is that applying for financial aid can feel risky for undocumented students, and our collective role is to, the best of our ability, to remove that fear and replace it with trust, accurate information, and consistent encouragement. And of course, as has been mentioned, really show the iHeart California Dream Act materials everywhere where students gather, whether classrooms, counseling centers, hallways. Visibility is incredibly important. So again, thank you so much for having us here today, and I will pass it along.
Thank you all. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Thank you for sharing these promising practices. And I love your talk, your real talk, Alouette. And this is how these courageous conversations take place, with real talk and love for those students that you work with. So to all the 347 participants in this webinar today, of those of you who took the time to join this webinar, you are now deemed an iHeart California Dream Act partner, equipped with the knowledge, history, and legal tools, resources, and the best practices to unite with others and to do this work for these students and families with courage and love. If you felt alone before starting this webinar, you just witnessed that you are not alone. We need to take action today. Next slide. And these are the next steps. Today, have courageous conversations with three students today, and repeat it every day. Reassure students that CADA data is only used for financial aid purposes, and make your support visible. The iHeart Dream Act posters, postcards, and stickers, and use our digital communications tool. So thank you to everyone today who joined. And please, please, please continue the work that needs to be done before March 2nd for these students who still have not yet stepped over that line in terms of completing the CADA or the FAFSA application. Again, let them know there's a choice there, and let them know that you are there for them, as well as we're here for you at the California Student Aid Commission. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.